The Charge win 3-2 in overtime against the Vancouver Goldeneyes in Vancouver. What is up, everybody? It is your local Ottawa fan. I don't know how we pulled this off. This was the Great Train Robbery. I don't know if this says more about us or Vancouver. I'm going to be honest. After watching this game, I think I'm about ready to call it. Yeah. I'm going to say something bold. Knock on wood. Knock on wood. Because I might be wrong. Look, the first season I'll never forget when I called it. I said that Toronto was done. They were the first bad team ever. And then they very infamously went on a huge tear, finished first in the league, and then their postseason happened. But still, they had a really good season when I thought they were down and out. There are so many games left for Vancouver and the Torrent. Okay? Vancouver and Seattle have 11 games apiece. That is a possibility of up to 33 points. So their season isn't done. For neither of them is their season done. But I'm willing to say, at this point, I think Vancouver's season is done. I don't see how this team is going to make the playoffs. I just don't see how a team this allergic to winning on a 4-game skid in a game that they absolutely should have won is going to find a way to not only rally, they are now 7 points out. That is more than 2 games. So yeah, they've got 11 games. That includes a game in hand. But they need to do, if they were 2 regulation wins better than us down the stretch, and, New York and Toronto as well, because they also need to leapfrog those teams, they would still miss the playoffs by a point. If they do 2 regulation wins better than us down the stretch, we still edge them out by a point. And this is assuming that New York and Toronto don't keep pace with them. And the Torrent have it even worse. They are a full 9 out. They are a full 3 regulation wins behind us. There's 11 games. There's 11 games to make that. Can you make that up in 11 games? Big time. Big time. And I mean, in the first season, that's only halfway through the season. There's still a third of the season left. That is a lot of time. But part of it is also, what have you been seeing? What have these teams showed you? And if there's something that Ottawa showed me, it's that they win hockey games. Even when they shouldn't, they win hockey games. And they had such a horrid start to this season. And when you avoid that horrid start, and you look at how well they've done since then, it's been pretty incredible. They have, 8 regulation losses and 1 overtime loss is what I'm seeing. And I'm pretty sure 5 of those regulation losses came at the start of the season, and they had 1 regulation win. That would mean 4 regulation wins, 6 overtime wins, to 1 OT loss and 3 losses. This is a team, it's winning games. And Vancouver's not. How are they going to keep pace unless we see complete rewriting of the script? Another thing for me that is impactful. Last season, Boston did make the playoffs with 15 wins out of 30. That is, half their games. So it is possible. But right now, Ottawa has 11 wins in 20 games. No team in the PWHL has won more games than they've lost and also missed the playoffs. Even though we aren't 500, in the PWHL, actual 500 is harder, or actual 500 is easier than PWHL 500. Like in the NHL, it's easier to be NHL 500, Because in theory, if you lose every single game in overtime, you're NHL 500, even though you didn't win a single game. It's PWHL, if you lose every single game in overtime, you finish with a .333. That is a terrible points percentage. That will certainly get you eliminated from the playoffs like that. Actual 500 is harder to do. It's harder to sustain. It implies that you're winning more than you're losing. Ottawa's approaching that, and even now, even though they aren't at even though they aren't at PWHL 500, they are at 5. They're above actual 500. They have 11 wins in 20 games. They have won more games than they have lost. 20 games into the season. That bodes very well for Ottawa, especially when you consider that New York lost to Minnesota. Minnesota's hot. They're who we face next. Yeah, I'm a little concerned. I'm really hoping that Boston can give Toronto the works and that we can also beat Minnesota, or at least get a point. But games like this inspire hope that we can find ways to win. Now, look, is Vancouver the best team right now? No. But here's how the game goes. First period. Dominated by Vancouver. Shots are 12-3. They nearly outshoot us by 10 in a single period. There are no words to describe how bonkers it was. And we take an early penalty. Becca Leslie, the kill is great. Cava then takes a tripping penalty. The kill is great. So it's not, oh, well, they had, like we did end up getting 2 power plays at the end of the period. Gardner and, too many players were called against Minnesota. But first off, the Michaela Cava penalty was almost over when the Gardner penalty was called. So they did get a good chunk of that power play. And these are called in the, very waning seconds of the period against Minnesota. This is, right towards the end of the period that we actually, are like, oh, okay, now we're going on the power play. So it would have been feasible if you're like, oh, well, Vancouver had a long power play twice in the first period. That explains the shots, but it doesn't. Because the power play isn't where they were generating their offense. Vancouver is having a historically bad power play recently. They went 0-4 this game, and the games before haven't been much better. Their power play's been just putrid. Today was no exception. But it makes you think, if their power play isn't where they're generating shots, how do you get outshot 12-3? How do you? I don't have the answer. Well, our penalties, they carry over. They carry over into that second period. Oh, we're going to do so well. We do better overall in the second period. The second period was 9-5 in shots. It's close. Something. Not enough. It's not enough. It's the only period, excluding overtime, it's the only period where they don't hit double digits. And they still got 9 shots. We are just putrid so far. We are getting completely outplayed. Skating circles around us. It's not for every one attempt they have 2. It's like for every one attempt they have a barrage of chances and sustained offensive pressure. And our power plays go nowhere. And then we take a penalty. And we get a good kill. And then Manon McMahon. Under a minute to go in the second period, takes a tripping call. And despite the fact that all game, it's been nothing but Goldeneyes. At the end of the second, shots are 21-8. Being outshot 21-8. Katarova. She shoots, she scores. And Venusia Katarova, with 35 seconds to play in the second period, makes it 1-0 Ottawa. I go into the third thinking, wouldn't it be hilarious if we somehow win this game? If Gwyneth Phillips just has herself a night, and despite them throwing everything in the kitchen sink, we just pull off a goofy 1-0 win. It would have been nice. It would have been really nice. Not going to happen, though. And it felt like it wasn't going to happen. Even in the third period, where we had our most shots at 8, we still got outshot by 4. They had 12. 12-9-12. They finished the game with 36 shots. We had something. We got outshot by 19. You don't win these games. And Sarah Nurse, who's been itching for a goal, you know, we got some early power plays. Didn't go anywhere. And Sarah Nurse, who's been itching for a goal, finally gets one. Beautiful play. Beautiful play. She scores. The game's tied 1-1. I thought that was it. Like, I was like, oh. Well, they scored. We are getting completely outplayed. We're getting completely outshot. Just play for overtime. You know, hope you get a fluke. And then it happened. Sophie Jakes scores. There's like 5 minutes left. That felt like the game was over. Any other team in this league, the game's over. Ottawa loses. That's the game winner. Like, that takes the wind out of your sails. On the replay, House is just taken out. Cross-checked, like, to the neck. I don't know how that's not 5. I don't know how... Like, honestly, I was like, this is one of the rare times where that's reviewable for a penalty. Because that should have been a major, in my opinion. I'm not going to complain about that. Look, you can argue that there should have been a penalty called on our game winner. So you know what? I say, let's call it even. Let's call it even. You know, both teams had a goal where maybe there should have been a penalty called. I don't think the refs... the discourse with refs has been consistent this season, and I think this game is no different. Yes, I do think that the refs weren't the best, which is weird because the way the game started with those early penalties, I thought it was a sign that, hey, we're going to play a tight game, we're not going to let much go, and then they let much go. But this goal, it stands. The Katarova goal did get reviewed, and it stood. This one doesn't even go to review. Again, you know, coach's challenge. I mean, so the solution is the Katarova goal. The review. Oh my goodness! It took forever. It took so long. I could have grown my beard, shaved it off, and grown it back, and the review wouldn't have been done. So getting rid of the coach's challenge hasn't really done much for fixing that. I still stand by, you make a call on the ice, you should have coach's challenges. Once they challenge and you've actually got the headset on and you're communicating with HQ, 3-minute timer starts and it goes and it goes and it goes and it goes. And once it hits zeros, if you have not solidified the answer, clearly it was too close to call. So there's no penalty because maybe you're right. Maybe we called it wrong. So the team isn't penalized for delay of game. Maybe you charge them their timeout, but that's it. They're fine. And the call on the ice stands. Whatever the call on the ice was. Because it was inconclusive. Because I believe that reviews are... How do I put this? They've been removed from what their original purpose was. Their original purpose was to correct egregious mistakes. To be able to review mistakes. Blatant mistakes. Obvious mistakes. Oh, that player was like 2 feet offside. Oh, the goalie was so obviously interfered with. The ref didn't see it at the time and they said good goal. But, looking back at this, yeah, that player very blatantly got in the way, got in their crease, prevented them from getting a goal. Not, well, there was minor contact. Maybe it affected the goaltender. I'm not sure. Did it come within 1 micrometer of the crease? If you thought it was a goal during the play and it's that close, the spirit of the game to me is that refs have a certain level of discretion. But human error is the point of sports, right? How did the Charge win this game? Human error. Kristen Campbell tried to make saves. She did not. Human error. Charge win. How did they get 2 past Gwyneth Phillips? Human error. How did they take 36 shots and only make good on 2? Human error. I will put the puck here to try to score. Uh-oh, I got bested. Somebody outsmarted me or outsped me or outskilled me. Gwyneth Phillips was there. Shucks. Yeah, that's how it works. A little bit of human error. It's when it's blatant, when you're kicking it in, when you're really offside, when you make a call and it's wrong, and it's obviously wrong. That's what this is for. The Katarova goal, it's ticky-tack at best. So you can argue it, but that's a goal in my mind. I'd also go so far as to say, if, while it happened live, if they waved it off and they said no goal, the review would have probably taken just as long, and I'm not even sure that they would have called it a goal. Like, that's the crazy thing. It's ticky-tack. I think it's a good goal, and I would have been glad if they reviewed it, if they didn't take so damn long. Because it is nice to make sure you got it right. You know, the second Goldeneyes goal, no review. I get why there wasn't one, but no review. This game looks over. You know, I'm feeling defeated. You know, you look at the stats, 12 shots, 9 shots, 12 shots. Wow. 33 shots. 33. How could we fail her? How could we lose this game for Phillips? But it doesn't matter. Time's winding down. We pull the goalie, and it looks like Vancouver has a chance to ice the game, but they don't. What's going to happen? The Wizard of Woz, Sarah Wozniewicz, scores. It's a snipe. A snipe. Ottawa has life. They're back in the game. Under a minute to go, and they've tied it. We forced overtime. Are you kidding me? We got a point out of this? We somehow got a point out of this? Are you serious? Like, that was my reaction. I was looking at obviously the standings, and that point ties us with New York points-wise. Huge! Right back to where we want to be. Now we just need to beat New York when we face them. Just beat New York. Oh, you sweet summer child, you don't know Charge hockey. In seasons of old, this would have been an overtime loss, and we would have been happy we got to overtime. Not this season! Not this season, baby. Best goal scorer in the league. Rebecca Leslie, hometown hero. Oh, I see one save. I'm going to get another. Assisted by who else? The captain, Brianne Jenner. She scores. 3-2 in overtime. Leslie gets her 11th of the season. She is tied for the league lead in goals. She has 18 points. Jenner has 18 points. They are both in the hunt for most points this season. They are not back by much. They're back by 3. That's close. That's really close. The fact that they're both at 18. I'd say the first season, 20 was that magic number. I'm going to say it was last season, and I imagine it'll be this season. I think 25 will be that number of like, okay, you had a really good season. Like, you played an exceptionally good year. You got 25 points. I could see both of Leslie and Jenner breaking that barrier. And as for goals, Rebecca Leslie is the barrier. She is at 11. She is tied for the league lead and has way more assists. Way more. Look, nothing against Kaltenkova. She is an amazing... I mean, when you have 11 goals, you're an amazing player. She is an amazing player. She is a breakout star this year. But look at the assists. Then go to Rebecca Leslie. Rebecca Leslie has 7 apples on top of her 11 goals. Her and Jenner have been the perfect pairing. I mean, if Leslie retires as a member of any team other than the Charge, we did something wrong. If she doesn't spend the rest of her career here, we majorly messed up royally. She needs to be charged for life at this point to have this kind of season for your hometown team, so consistently scoring the big goals that you need her to score. game winner after game winner, clutch goal after clutch goal to tie, lead, or win games so often. I think she's MVP, in my opinion. In my opinion, I'd make her the MVP. League leader in goals right now, and also has a bunch of apples to boot. And let's be honest, you take her out of the equation, where are we? How many wins do we have? But of course, you can't talk about this game without Gwyneth Phillips. Gwyneth Phillips had a 944% save percentage tonight. 944. Compared to that to the 824, that's 0.120 better. That is huge. That is significant. That's the difference between winning and losing this game. And when you look at how tight the standings are right now, Ottawa 28 in 20 games, Toronto 28 in 21 games, New York 27 in 20 games. That fight for the final playoff spot, and it's looking like Minnesota's solidified, Montreal's solidified, Boston solidified. Those three teams are in a dogfight, and right now we are on top for a reason. And we are, if you look at those teams, Toronto, 8 wins. New York, 8 wins. Ottawa, 11. That is how you make the playoffs. It's that level of consistency that you need to make the playoffs. So they just need to keep it up, because this was maybe our worst game of the season. Probably was. We had our New York game, one of the worst of the season, lose 6-2, and then we have this game, and it was another one that was like, I said burn the tape last game. This game was awful. We won. Now, is it that Vancouver found a way to lose, or that we found a way to win? You can argue that to the ends of the earth, but at the end of the day, win the games that matter. This game really mattered, and we won it. Now we face Minnesota. That's going to be tough. It's going to be... They're a hot team right now. But hit that reset button. You got away with 2. You know that you got away with 2. And now you can be like, hey, we barely got this one. Now let's really finish them in this next game. Let's really give ourselves a cushion. Got an opportunity. Again. And that's the good thing. All season, we've been giving ourselves opportunity. We've done it yet again in a game that, frankly, any other team is losing this game. But not us. Not with Jenner. Not with Phillips. Not with Leslie. And as always, go, Ottawa, go!